Alrighty, everybody. So, if you haven't been under a rock, I did put out a survey in a bunch of Discord servers and a bunch of Facebook chats, and just like asked a bunch of questions about kind of the last year of Final Fantasy. And I thought it'd be really fun to go over the results with you, kind of give my own answers, and I also thought it'd be really fun to not get one Continental Champion, but to actually get two. So, for that reason, I have brought my good friend Torrey Kelley with me. Torrey, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here, and I had a lot of fun filling out the survey, so I'm excited to see what the results are. Ghoul Daniel here has kept me in the dark, so I'm going to be learning alongside you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting results. I need to, now that I think about it, need to pull up the one extra tab I forgot about because I need my actual data because some of these don't have the numbers with them. All right, so survey responders, like I said, Discords and Facebook groups, but that's going to create some bias. You know, people that might be like, the really casual players at the local level, or people that, buy, I don't know, 3 booster packs at a locals and then don't play the game very much, aren't going to respond, right? The questions, like the exact ones, nobody asked me for further context. I didn't give any of them, so people could read these in multiple ways, in their own ways. Some of these I had to do some creative reading. Like if people said Warrior of Light, I interpreted that as Refugee Control. If they're talking about decks, for instance, that does make some things pretty difficult. Like if people say Fire Water monsters and another person says Water Lightning monsters, I don't know what to do with that sometimes, right? So there's like some subjectivity, but I tried to keep it as objective as I could, which it means that some archetypes gets rolled together a little bit, like Breffia and Bart's Refugee are kind of different, but like they do the same basic thing, right? And also because I had to go through and actually like manually count stuff for this, I did stop at a certain point. So the surveys at the beginning that say like, "Oh, I bought cards this year," are going to have a certain number, and then like it's not going to match with the numbers that I got for some of the later things, just because people responded too late. But I pulled the full like charts from literally this morning. So,
Also, some people might not have responded to every
yeah,
question as well.
yeah.
So
There's definitely some. I think like least favorite art, I think got like 95 respondents, and like favorite card got like 120. So, all right. Survey demographics.
But one moment, Daniel. Like I'm like black on your screen. I
Oh
think. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm back. Okay.
Okay. Let's.
I'm like flickering in and out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is that working again? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's working again.
Cool. All right. So, pretty standard, I would say, for the most part. I'm really surprised at. First of all, like seeing 111 people playing a store championship seems actually almost higher than I would expect. Like that and like the Materia Cups being like 70%, both of those seem like I would have expected to be like more like 60% and 40%. That seems crazy high to me. Uh,
Well, the thing is, there's like a self-selection, right? So the people that are probably seeing these surveys are probably the more serious players, and they're more likely to have gone to events, right?
yeah, for sure. I
Right,
just
like
like
I don't think 10% of the population went to Worlds.
I I mean it's self-selecting, but I mean like I don't know. There's 54. There's probably 20 to 30. Or how many English speakers were there? Like 28. I
Worlds.
don't. At Worlds. Oh,
So
more than
all of
28 because
Team
it's
America, like all of Team Europe,
because 25
Torrey.
between Europe and in A. Another 5 for Oceania gets you to 30. That's like 30. Maybe one of the Singapore guys. I could see that being 12 actually.
Well, all of the Singapore guys, I think, spoke English, considering they're required to have their cards in English. They're
Yeah.
like the one region that like actually requires a language on their cards.
Yeah.
Plus, I think like half the Japanese players spoke English, right? Like Eureka obviously does, right?
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm saying. Like I could actually see 12 being correct for that. Um, No, it's I posted in the European chat, the Australian chat, bunch of discords. Yeah, that seems about right, honestly. I am curious who the Giga Chads are that like played at locals and did not buy single cards. That's impressive. You do you, but maybe they borrowed a deck from a friend or something instead.
yeah,
But
I don't know.
Yeah.
I checked off all of these.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's just down the list, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. If I did that, but I don't know. I thought this was kind of a fun thing to see. I'm actually pretty happy with. I thought the locals percent might actually be more like 85, just because people don't live near locals sometimes. But
Yeah, it's nice to see that people are going out and to their stores and supporting them and whatnot.
yep. All right. Next question. Favorite product. This was actually really even. I did not expect this at all to be even. I'm gonna be quite honest. A little bit of everything. I do think it's funny that like I put like the extra thing and people just kind of put whatever in those. But the most popular set of the year was Hidden Legends. Do you agree, Tori? Hidden Legends best set of the year?
Was that the final one?
Yeah.
I don't remember these by their names.
Yeah, Hidden Legends was 24.
No. I mean, the icons and dominance are really cool cards. I love my Clives, but nah. If I had to like say a favorite, it's complicated because Hidden Trials had so much monster support, and I thought that was a really fun and cool set.
That's the least popular one of the year.
I know. What is wrong with you people?
There was a certain boogeyman printed in that set. I think people
there
are.
There was a certain boogeyman printed in that set, yeah. But Hidden Legend, I mean, not sorry, Hidden Hope also had like the Knights package, which I know a lot of people also hate. So, I mean, Hidden Legends, if you hate aggro cards being printed, was probably the safest set, and maybe that's why, because it didn't have Knights or Chaos in it.
I think honestly, what it boils down to, like, I don't know what it is, but like people were so excited for Final Fantasy 16 to finally be in the game that just like the Final Fantasy 16 set was worth it, regardless of the fact that I think that like it was by far the least impactful competitive set of the year.
Yeah, like you could probably count the number of like actually good cards on like maybe two hands. It was like the power level of Opus 24 was like pretty low on average. The cards that were good were really good. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I like as a competitive player, I think either Hidden Trials or Hidden Hope I would like more. Obviously, I think I voted for the anniversary set just because I love reprint sets, and I'm just glad that we keep getting these.
Yeah, I think the anniversary set was good. I still think that there's like some weird gaps here and there that I don't love. There's kind of still the awkwardness of like two of Legends and a mono arts that still cause kind of weird issues, but it's definitely like what it does for the game. I think is really important. I'm glad that they are continuing to try to innovate on that. A little bit interested to see what ends up happening with the upcoming full reprint set. That's not a like that'll actually be randomized. We'll see how that ends up going over because that has other issues that are be interesting to discuss. But
I'm excited for it, but also a little worried. We'll see.
Yeah. For me, I went with Hidden Hope. I thought that like the introduction of LB was really well done for the most part. I thought it was really fun to play with. I thought the cards there were a lot of really interesting build arounds. Cards like Bart's, cards like Corilla, I thought were really interesting. I didn't love what Knights was, but like I do think it's interesting. I did not read that card as powerful as it was when I first read it. I thought the card was terrible, and obviously probably spawned. Out of the brand new decks from this year, I think Knights is the one that lasted the longest. Like, but
it's the only one that started in Hidden Hope, right? So
yeah, so yeah. This was my pick, but I don't think I would fault anybody for picking any of the other sets. All right, so my favorite new card of the year. So for these, I'm just going to put mine first. I had to think a lot on this one, actually, and I finally settled on Cloud, which is actually a pretty rare pick for this. I think it's not even on like the honorable mentions. I just really like the way that Cloud ended up slowing the game down while kind of giving answers to a lot of really problematic cards. I think the way that like, especially in Opus 22, where people were just kind of just splashing anything to play this guy, was kind of like really funny and really interesting. Like, my 5 CP Golbez in Refia is still one of the funniest things, and I cast that card so many times, by the way. Like, the actual Golbez.
What were you searching with it? Like, just a Warrior of Light backup?
Yeah, Warrior of Light backup, a Ku Sith, Elena, like...
Oh, that's right, you can search summons. That's so funny.
Any 2-cost card. I did resolve the damage 6 on it one time, but, like... The fact that, like, Cloud was, like, strong enough to make that worth doing without... Like, he centralized the game, but I think he centralized the game in a more defensive way, which actually I just like, because it slowed the game down a lot. which I think just would not have happened if there wasn't this random 2CP 8K that kills a 3CP on entry, right? So that was my pick for favorite of the year.
Sorry, I just like Lightning to get anything it can at this point. Like the elements in dire straits. So Cloud was a really nice breath of fresh air in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. So these are the honorable mentions. I think these got about 4 to 5% of the total vote. Minwoo, not shocking. This card is awesome. Torrey has professed his love for this card on the Gamers Command YouTube, which you guys should all check out if you haven't already.
That was my pick, by the way. Minwoo is so much fun.
Yeah, it's weird because like the two modes are like simultaneously have nothing to do with each other, but also feed into each other in a really weird way. It's just such a weird and cool card. There's just not much like it in the game.
I've used first mode to draw into enough cards for the second mode, and I've used the second mode to dump my hand for the first mode. It's a lot of fun manipulating your hand for her.
Yeah. I've also done a lot of like L3 stuff, and she's like the best fire card in L3 right now, which is super cool. But Chaos, there's some sickos out there apparently. And Lucia, which I think this one makes a lot of sense. It's just a really cool build around and changes the way that crystal decks are going to function probably indefinitely until something better gets printed. So we did a lot of testing with this guy for Worlds. Didn't quite get to where we wanted to with it, but I don't think that's the fault of the card. I think that was the fault of time constraints and lack of data that made me want to consider taking the card.
Yeah, so I see Lucio at locals a bunch. It's so fun. Like playing against and with the card, I think is really exciting. And I think if a card is fun to play against as well as with, that's when you know it's a great card.
All right, so here are our top 3. So favorite card, third place, Corilla. I could see this one. If you like playing aggro, it's probably the card you would have gotten the most use out of over the course of the year. Very strong card. Also does lead to some really cool deck building problems and challenges. Second place, Witch of the Fens. Torrey's no stranger to this card, I assume. And first place with Clive. Again, only 8.5, so a lot of different variation on cards people would pick for this, which makes sense. Favorite's pretty subjective. And
Yeah, Witch and Clive were probably my 2 honorable mentions. Both of the cards are extremely fun to play with, very powerful. And, like, the moment they hit the board, they just have such a dominating presence that both players just have to respect them. Corilla, I get it too. She's, like, as you said, just a fun deck-building challenge. And, turns out gambling is... People love to gamble. And just flipping random cards off the top of your deck, hoping you hit Laswell. It's a fun thing to do. I mean, it's not fun to play against, but it's fun to do.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I will say about Clive, personally, for me, is... God, priming is such an awkward mechanic sometimes. I've been playing a lot of mono ice icons at locals. I have drawn both of my Shivas before I've drawn any of my Jills in, like, all 3 games at locals this week. And it's, like, happening so often. Like, it's... like, the mechanic's, like, strong, but, like, it's...
The game.
Yeah, not a mono ice, though.
Loperit stays winning.
Alright, next up, least favorite new card of the year. My pick, this should not be a surprise. I freaking hate this idiot. When this card was spoiled, I said it was a mistake to give him haste, and I stand by that. Screw this card.
This might have been my pick as well. I don't remember what I put, but Raijin is just awful. Just a miserable card to play against. And I've never been having fun when this thing's on the board.
So this guy killed me in pre-release as well. My opponent played the 5-cost Ignacio that milled 3, and milled off of that the only copies of Fujin and Raijin to kill me from 4 to 6 when they were dead on board. Otherwise, if they hit anything else. And then he went in the stupid Don Corneo deck, which was obnoxious as hell. And he went into the Warrior of Light Gigawall build that was playing the FF8 stuff, and that deck was obnoxious. And then he shows up in Chaos now. Like, this guy just has never done anything healthy.
Yeah, I played against Brian Berkeley at Nats, and he used it with, like, 1 card in hand, right? Because he played a Dea. 0 cards in hand, a Dea searched a card. Milled off of a Dea, hit Fujin, hit Raijin. Against my Megissa list. I was, like, so livid, because I had the game just locked up until he milled, basically for free, Fujin, Raijin. This was even with the Chaos. Like, how many cards does a Dea mill? Like, 2? 3?
Mills 2.
It's... Oh my god, I was so mad. Oh, And suddenly I went from like being in a completely dominating position in the game to just basically losing on the spot. So yeah,
Alright, yeah.
the variance this card adds is just horrific.
Honorable mentions from y'all. Corilla, I also get it. uh, this card is really, really, really strong and obnoxious. I think that, like, there's something about the collected company cards that they're just so much stronger in this game. And speaking of cards that just flip the top of your deck and do anything they want to, Hythlodaeus. I don't even think Hythlodaeus has really proven to be a tournament force, but the play pattern on this card is really not good.
I think there's something to say about all three of these cards being either cards that flip top X or a reward for flipping top X. That randomness that it adds to the game is just something that I think a lot of players just do not enjoy, and I hope that Hobby Japan like moves away from that design space moving forward. Considering just it seems like in general people don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Corilla is like I've won games off my opponent's Korilla's whiffing, and I've lost games off of my opponent's Corilla hitting just the absolute nuts.
Yep.
Tithlo, I'm lucky. I've never played against it in a tournament match. But like I've tested with and against this card, and like as you said, I don't think it's a good card. It's just not fun. Why does this exist?
Yeah.
When Hythlo was revealed, I remember going into our Gamers Command group chat and typing, "If this card is good, I'm quitting the game."
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's not, but Christ.
So the actual top three, we have a tie for third place. Raijin and Tidus LB at 5%. It's Selk in second with 6, which is wild to me. I think this card's cool as hell, outside of the Hythlo stuff, but like Hythlo's not the problem with them itself. And we go from 6% to 34% on Chaos. Yeah, there's not too much to say on the Chaos explosion. I still think that like if Raijin wasn't in the game, Chaos would like be annoying, but wouldn't be a problem. Like I'm like pretty firmly on that. Like if he just like flared to do a bit of damage and then like milled himself, like it would be like a locals legend deck that like people wouldn't really like to play. It would be like 6 CP Golbez, right? Like from Opus 1, where it's like when it goes off, it wins the game, but like you know, it's not. It's just the Raijin and Fujin for me with that card. But yeah, what do you think on
Chaos
these?
by himself is fair. Like Chaos is fair. Like I've gone on record saying this. I think Chaos is a cool, fun, interesting card. I think Raijin and Fujin are degenerate pieces of garbage that shouldn't exist. But Chaos by himself is fair. Emmett, I think is to me goes into the school of this card is clearly overtuned, but it's like fine. The deck he supports is okay. Like I don't mind Emmett that much. I do think he's like clearly, as I mentioned, clearly overtuned. Like this card has way too much text on it, but he's fine. He causes control to be like a better deck, so like I'm okay with that. I'm surprised Tidus is on this list. I mean, I know that Tidus is also in the Emmett boat of just being clearly overtuned and like maybe omnipresent and probably the best card that was printed last year. But like, have y'all resolved Tidus? That card's so fun. I love drawing cards.
I can sort of see like the big problem with Tidus is how splashable it ended up. Like Mono Earth should not be playing the Mono Water boss monster.
Is he a mono water boss monster?
Oh,
I
like,
think he's just the water boss monster.
okay, well, regardless, like Mono Earth saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna play the water boss because it's the best thing I can do," and there's no restriction that like prevents that from happening with this guy. I see the lore there a little bit.
Maybe he should have cost 3 with 5 blue pips to like make him closer to like how Shantoto LB is with just like an obnoxious amount of specifically earth or water CP. Because like also like in wind decks, right? Like if you have an Atomos or an Every on board, if you have a backup that generates water CP, you can like cast Tidus LB with just like a singular water card in hand, right? Because you can for the front half you can tap like your water backup, play Tidus, and if it's like cast 2 with Atomos, or if you have an Every on board, you can like untap that backup and then retap it for the second half. And so you just need that singular water card, which is probably too much. Like I've cast him in like a mono wind deck with just a singular water card in hand, and like I get it. That's probably not okay. But
Yeah.
he's like he solves so many issues. Like there's so many obnoxious backups in this game that you just want to get rid of, and just decks don't have access to backup
But
removal. So I
like,
think having like
there's
backup
a
removal that everyone has access to is
but
like
there's a
healthy,
difference
right?
between backup removal and stack the top of your opponent's deck while digging for Levi Tarasu or Amaterasu. Like, there's a
I know, isn't it
huge
great?
difference.
Isn't it? It's so good. It's
There's a
so
huge
good. I
between
love it.
like half of your
Oh,
next draw is a dead card, and also I'm cycling one card in hand for two fresh ones. Like, uh, I
love
it's like
stacking.
and like the decks that can't play in it's so frustrating sometimes when you're like, say you're playing mono ice, you have your five backups, you finally got there, your opponent is on mono earth, and they go Leo Warrior of Light Tidus, and you have just no response window to stop him from stacking your fifth backup. Like I sort of get it. Like it's a really annoying play pattern there.
Just play a deck with cancels. What can I say?
Strongest card of the year, I put Tidus. I think that Tidus represents a complete paradigm shift as a, like, you must be this tall to ride the bus kind of situation. Like, if every single control deck has access to Tidus as a finisher, like, what more does any deck possibly need? Like, this guy was the reason Refia was played in Opus 22. It's the reason Mono Earth took over in Opus 23. Um, I just see this as like being the bar that every control deck has to clear for until the end of time because he's an LB card because you don't take main deck space for him.
Yeah, Tidus is, as we just mentioned, just a ludicrous card. It's so good. I think this was my choice as well. It was just an amazing card.
Some honorable mentions. Corilla again. I think Corilla, that makes sense. I think Corilla is still partly her supporting cast. Her interactions with cards like Ramza and Lastwell, I think, are really why, but sure, I sort of get it. Which also really, really strong, which is funny because she really doesn't have a lot of text. Like, her abilities are so simple, but she's so strong. And speaking of simple, Leo, which probably is stronger than he should have been.
Yeah, I remember when we got the leaks for Opus 22, and not the leaks. It was like the Japanese set was revealed, and like Leo was on there, and like I can't read Japanese, but I looked at the card and I just saw the text box, and I was like, does this just say 3 CP draw card? And like my brother-in-law was in the room with me, and I was like, what? They can't print that, right? Like that's not allowed. And then like we get the translate up and we see what Leo does, and we're like, wow, this is not okay. And yeah, I think it's also interesting that all these are water cards.
Water is.
It's almost like water's the best element in the game.
Yeah, I'm amazed Leo wasn't like when Leo leaves the field, like, but yeah, that's so the top three. Third place Tidus LB with 9%. Clive with 20% actually seems pretty high for me, and then Chaos with 35. I mean, these are really interesting to me because like I can sort of see the arguments for both Clive and Chaos, but to me they rely so much more, and like I could see like we've had cards like Clive that like cycle your hand and draw fresh ones. Like Onion Knight was printed in Opus 16 and saw like a little bit of like people dabbling with it. Like you could play that in Refia now, and people don't. I know that like Clive obviously has like the removal mode, but like there's some really cool flexibility there. But I don't
I mean,
know.
I
It's
personally think Clive is the best main deck card that was released this year. Like, if you had to have me choose, like, it's hard to say, like, what the best card of the year is to me when, like, both the LB exists and the main deck exists. And to me, like, to be, like, a good LB card is different from being, like, a good main deck card. So, like, if I had to choose one of each, I definitely would have gone Tidus and Clive. I think Clive is ludicrous. It's just the how modular, like, the modal mode, like, ugh, I can't speak. But like Clive's ability to both be an amazing draw engine while also being just this crazy strong removal tool at the same time is just unmatched in my opinion. Like Ifrit's good enough to just be castable at 7 CP. So the fact that you can get a 1 CP discount to make it 6 is just crazy.
I mean he
then, like,
is
all the
playable at
specials.
7, but like I think if it was printed as just a standalone card tomorrow, nobody would put the card in the deck. The only reason he's played is because of Clive. And Clive, like I said, isn't that much better than like Onion Knight. He's a power card Onion Knight from Opus 16, which is still really good, but that card wasn't seeing a ton of play. Like the modality is the only thing that really keeps Clive it makes him that strong.
It's more than that though. Right? Like Onion Knight draws you 2 cards once. Clive can draw you 2 cards like every turn. That's like a big difference. Like when Onion Knight hits the board, you're like, oh well, they just have a forward on board. When Clive hits the board, I immediately go, oh god, this thing has to die. And like there's this really interesting play pattern where when Clive hits the board, you're stuck with this awkward situation of like, well, I don't want to give them the draw, so I guess I'll develop blockers to get in the way of Clive. But if you just develop blockers, he just flips, turns into Ifrit, kills your blockers, and then you still lose, right? Like he puts your opponent in like a lose-lose situation where the only winning solution is to kill Clive. But like he's a free forward, right? He costs 4 and he already drew 2 cards to replace himself.
That's
so
fair.
like it feels bad no matter what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing with Clive is, to me, a lot of his value is like also his splash ability because, I mean, water, fire, obviously, but also the fact that like he gave mono ice kind of the one thing it was missing with removal thanks to Torkoal, which is definitely cool. Like I love that aspect of the card for sure.
I'm surprised to see Chaos in first though. By the way,
Strongest?
like, Chaos is
Yeah.
it's like good. Like in the deck's toxic, but like I don't think Chaos as a deck is just that much better than everything else in the format.
I think the other thing to
My
me is that
opinion.
like you couldn't really ban. I mean, I guess you could ban Ifrit or whatever, but like to me, Chaos is only strong because of Raijin and Fujin. Like if you took those cards out of the format, Chaos would be a meme outside of like outside of the ethically sourced Chaos, which I'm fine with. Like
Yeah.
I think it's strong. It's annoying. I wish they would not print the words discard 2 on anything in the game, but like if they're gonna do it, that does require some setup. Like
Yeah.
but
I think Chaos is a fair card, but it is what it is.
it like there's just like they printed 2 Narcomoebas that have haste in the same 3 sets before for some reason, and in that situation you just can't print mill 20. Your opponent discards 2 cards on a forward.
Yeah, they can't do that.
Most disappointing card of the year, I put Tyro. This might be a bit of a weird one. People might have just forgotten this card exists, but like, I was really excited when I saw Wind, Hero, Backup Tyro. Like, one of the most powerful cards with this super cute art. This card's not playable in L3. Like,
Yeah, it's just so restrictive. Like I get you. I don't know. I don't know why they did Tyro dirty like this, especially as a hero.
yeah, it's a hero, and like the action ability is like solid. Like it's not a bad action ability, but like you can get this action ability in other places, and like the name for this card is so bad, especially like if you're trying to print multi-element support and you're naming it Tyro. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's this awkward situation in this game where they want to reuse a name, and if the previous version of the card was really good, in order for the card to see play, it needs to power creep the old version, which sometimes they're just not willing to do. So you get this awkward situation where they'll have to good cards with good names have to get even stronger cards, which means they have to print even stronger cards, and you get this name power creep, where for instance, for me, Mira, if a card's gonna be named Mira, it has to be broken to see play, which means that the future mirrors have to be even more broken, which means future mirrors have to be even more broken, and you get this awful creep. You see this with other cards too, but cards named if you're gonna be named Lena, for instance, you better be breaking the game if you want to see play.
Lena,
And,
Zidane.
yeah, if there's the Lena from what was it, Opus 21 or was it 22? The other Amano.
22, yeah.
Or no, I think it was 23.
No, it was 22.
It was 22. Okay, yeah. That Lena sees almost no play, despite being a objectively amazing card in 4-color, because it's got a terrible name. If that card was named anything else, it would see tons of play, I think. But
Yeah.
it's named Lena. What are you gonna do?
I mean, the Light Legend would maybe still see play in Refia if it wasn't named Lena as well. I played that card in Refia for so long before the new one was printed too. And that I will say the Light Legend, so fun in Refia. That card is.
I mean, I'm messing around with the Light Legend in Water Fire right now, just because it's a fun Princess Goblin search target for special fodder.
But all right, let's see what other ones y'all picked. This one got a lot of different responses all over the place. Some honorable mentions. A lot of Wind Legends that just didn't live up to some of the hype apparently. I think Belgiumine has seen a bit of play, but like I think the problem is just that like it's Luso 4, 5, and 6 at best probably in most decks. Like there's niche situations she's better where it's like, oh well, Luso has a weird weakness with like he doesn't take damage from abilities or whatever else, but like Belgiumine has weird things where she's not repeatable in the same turn like Luso is. And also like Luso can deal with untargetable stuff, Belgiumine can't, so like it just kind of does the same thing as Luso but doesn't have the draw on entry. And then Hope, there was just that weird FF13 package in Opus 23, and it just hasn't done much for the most part. Like when Steve Sauce like is not playing them, I'm like, what are we doing with Steve isn't playing FF13 with the new stuff?
Yeah, when I read the whole 13 package in Opus 23, I was just wondering what the heck Hobby Japan was cooking. Because I couldn't see, like, I had no idea what you're going to do. Like, maybe if Hope, like, had haste for action abilities or something, it'd be one thing. But there's no shot. They expect in the year of our Lord 2024 that we're going to play, like, this Hope turn 1, and then, like, on turn 2 crack it, and then get it back on, what, turn 3? Like, Knights have killed you by then. Like, the game's over. What are you doing? Especially because they made it odd costed, which makes you like want to like wait even longer. So like you like play a backup turn 1, and then you play Hope on like turn 2, and then Hope doesn't even get to come back until turn 4. That's so slow. That's ridiculously slow. And then like it's in Wind, which is an element that has effectively no defensive tools.
Yeah, and like very few 13 characters you want to play as well. It's like Hope, his mom, and Typhon. That's like it.
Yeah, well, they also printed the Null. In
which you don't want to pull out with Hope.
Which you don't want to pull out with Hope. I mean, you could discard it for Hope. But, like, also, well, there's other card named Hope, right?
There's the...
They printed that Win Hope in, was it 21 or 22? The one that, like, scries top 5 and adds to hand?
Yeah.
Which is, like, an okay card. You'd probably run both just because you just need more wind in the deck. But, like, the best thing you could do with this is, like, if you get the lightning backup on board that you can use to give your Cat 13's haste, you could like then hope every turn. And you can even get like 2 hope and just have them tagging back and forth each turn. But like, why can't you do this on your opponent's turn? The action.
Yeah, the inability to do the like even if it was like dull hope pay 1 or something, right? Like like so that way he would like have pseudo haste and you're paying for it every turn instead as opposed to like this weird he's supposed to like come in for a turn and be vulnerable. Yeah, like even it's like a chump blocker. Like you play him, okay, I'm gonna flicker him out after I declare the block. Like,
yeah, like that would go such a long way if you could use him to like block and then like remove himself in response. But you can't, which just makes this card so pathetic defensively. And like, also if you could like give him haste, like on like if your opponent tries to kill him, you could like haste him and then crack him in response to get him out of there. But no, you can't even do that. Like he's just a sitting duck on your opponent's turn. Yeah. I don't get it. Back to Belgiumine though. Like, this was the card I revealed. I was kind of hoping that she'd be good, but, like, the moment I read her, I was like, wouldn't I just rather play Luso? And, turns out most people would just rather play Luso.
Yeah, I mean, I played Mono Wind at Worlds. I did not have a copy of Belgiumine in the deck. Tried her at 2 in the deck to make sure I saw her. Like, I distinctly remember a game where I cast 2 summons, had a Belgiumine on field, drew 2 cards off an Alexander, didn't draw a summon, and I lost because of it. And I'm like, if I had Luso or like anything better, I would have won that game.
That was against me in testing.
It was.
I think I remember that.
So the other ones that we have, third place we have Cecil. I think people just again, these are all legends. People want good legends, especially if you're if you were a big Ice believer and you saw the Cecil, you're probably kind of thinking, what the hell, guys? Like, why is this what I'm getting? I mean, the card's not terrible, but I mean, it's just like, wouldn't you just play Vincent most of the time? Like, if you want to play a 3 cost that freezes 3 things and like an actual 3 cost.
I think the Cecil has some potential.
Yeah.
But it just hasn't. People haven't tested with it. I think like being a 3 cost ice forward, like it's a Lena target for one. If you're playing like Ice Water, you can bring it in on your opponent's turn. The board clear you can use on your opponent's turn, so like your opponent can hit you to like your opponent has to kill this before they kill you.
Yeah.
Right. So also the fact that you can, because like you can special like in the middle of combat, the moment they put you to damage 5 to wipe their board. I think there's interesting things you can do with it. I just, why can you only basically special with him once or else he kills you? It's the only thing that
I think
annoys
the
me about
discard
the
on
card.
entry is so rough though. Like making him kind of a pseudo 5 CP forward that you can't cost reduce as well. Uh, there's some really
It
cool
left.
things. I don't think the card is bad, especially like in L3. I think it's actually like a really strong card. But like I cannot. I just don't know. I feel like every other situation, like I could play Lastwell for one less and Dull Freeze a thing and threaten more that way, or I could play Vincent and freeze 3 backups if I'm going for that, or there's just so many different options for cards to do what this card does. Outside of the special, which
Yeah,
is really cool. Um,
yeah. Special is really cool.
and then
Um,
in first place, we have Chaos again. I think this is just like a disappointment with the way the card ended up playing rather than being disappointed with the power level of the card. And then Realm, which I think is people doing what I did with Tyro, seeing this gorgeous art, was spoiled way before we knew the effect, and people just don't really know what we're meant to do with this. I know that like Steve D would have you believe otherwise, but I don't see it. I don't see the lore.
I distinctly remember my day at work being ruined the day that Realm was spoiled. I was like so excited for this card. And then IGN got their spoiler day and they revealed Realm. And like I was just depressed the rest of the day. Cause like the card art's beautiful. Like what I would swap this card with 5 CP Realm in a heartbeat art wise. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing, Hobby Japan? I
I
have a full art in my binder. What am I doing with this realm? I don't know.
I will
I
say
don't
one of
know.
the funniest things is that Realm and Chaos are both IGN spoilers, which is just so funny. Like I said, they're on this list for completely different reasons, though. So it's not even like hobby, but like I love this like mental image of like Square Enix and Hobby Japan. You're like, okay, IGN's getting spoilers. We're gonna give them the card people are gonna hate.
Yeah, no, I agree with your theory about Realm that they had to change the effect at the last minute because she was like breaking the game or something. Because there's no shot. There's just no shot that like this card was printed as a legend when like cards like Larkagus exist with just like no restrictions.
Yeah, there must have been something late in development they did, and they went, oh, um, I don't know if it was like the restriction was like too gentle, like it was like 2 or more, and people were like using Empire Sid to search Realm and getting like a turn 2 Scale Toad for while getting a 5K body on the field or something. I have no idea what it could have been, but something must have gone wrong with this card at some point. Because I can't imagine it was like play any monster. Because like you don't like what play Luminous Puma for 3. Like, that would have been cool actually, but we could play it for 2. Just
I'd
get the
do it.
5 damage.
I've
uh,
done that.
yeah, I know you have. Yeah, it's interesting. Best art of the year. This one was really difficult. I tried to go with like I was thinking like so many different options. What swayed me on this one actually isn't even the art. It's that I've seen this card on a poster at Grand Panda Canyon in Japan. They actually have like the actual like posters. This card, like blown up, is stunning. Like it's so good when you can see the detail on not like either this itty bitty thing or a computer screen. It's incredible. Um, I was thinking like Diana, like anything by Akira Ogura, but like the Diana, the Sarah, the Null, all of those. I love Sarah Shimakobe's art, but you just can't beat this. I don't think it's so good.
We've gotten we are blessed with just having amazing arts in this game, and I think I struggle a lot with this one, this category, because I wasn't sure what to put. There's just so many good ones.
So honorable mentions. Unfortunately, Bahamut was really vague and got mentioned a decent amount, so I don't know which Bahamut people were talking about. And to be fair, they're both really cool looking. Signature
If I
Lightning.
had to pick, it'd probably be that center one.
I would have said the Ishihara one on the one on the left. So like that's what I'm saying. Like people would say Bahamut and they wouldn't really clarify which one occasionally. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll all the Bahamuts into one because I don't. That way I could be as fair as possible. And it only made honorable mention anyway, even after I did that. Um, Signature Lightning, I think, would be higher if the card was playable. I'm like pretty convinced on that, actually. Like the main thing holding this card back is the fact that like it's just a rare that like I don't know where it'll ever get played.
Yeah. Lightning, as we mentioned earlier, with cards with names that are a high priority. Lightning is a very difficult name to have, especially when you're specifically Cat 13 support. The most important card in the Cat 13 deck is already named Lightning. Yeah, I think this one, people are just horny. People just armpits. What can I say?
All right, and here's the year picks. So I rolled Palamaporum into one. It feels fair. It's literally just one art. And that tied with Sarah. I misspelled it there, but obviously that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why they're letting Ruby Asami do this like stuff where she was getting different stuff on her full arts, but like please keep doing it. It's the coolest shit ever when it's like when you get a foil of Sarah, you have the clocks and like the Kefka with like the lines on it in the background. So cool. Clive got second, which is interesting because this one was not original art. This is just Final Fantasy 16 concept art. People just love their Clive. And then in first place is Leviathan, but like enough people mentioned Fenrir next to Leviathan that like I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna roll these together. It's gonna be one slot for this. Which same artist, same kind of series, it makes sense.
Yeah. Surprised to see Clive. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some Clive, but it's just like it's kind of like screenshot art, right? Like it's not exactly screenshot art, but like the idea is the same. It's I don't know. I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah.
But the rest of these I think are pretty good picks all around. I think people also like the Paladin and the Porn because they were the Continental Qualifier mats.
They're just so stinking
like,
cute. Like,
yeah.
I remember the Porum was my chase card. I actually got a play set of her. I don't know how many times I'll actually play the card, but it's so cute. It also helps that like I know Sarah Shimikobe worked on Nia the World Ends With You. So like I already kind of just love her for that, and then like having her draw this like stupidly cute Porum is incredible. Worst art of the year. This one was very difficult to judge. People wrote in a lot of weird stuff that I had to do some creative writing on and creative reading. My pick, I went with I thought about putting Raijin for a second, and then I realized how much I hated the Fujin and the fact that like if you haven't seen it, like her hair is cropped horribly.
Yeah, this is just the worst crop job in the game.
I don't know why they did this too. Like they could have just put like the full art on a card and had it be like Raijin and Fujin or whatever, like on the same card. You know, I know that people hate the Knicks movie poster as well, but like cropping the Knicks out of the Knicks movie poster doesn't make the Knicks look better. The other one that I almost went with was, you know, like in Opus 23, all the FF14 cards, how they just have like this, like almost like this weird white border around the characters where they are. Like they look like they're like just floating and not properly like placed on the page, like the Alfino and the Kryl and stuff.
I have not looked at those cards nearly well enough to remember that.
There's just something about them that like unsettles me when I see them, and I feel like they don't feel like they were cropped properly. Like I feel like the Theostinian is like the easiest one. It's like it's this weird combination of like feeling like blurry and like there's like a weird white aura around like the edge of Estinian's model in the thing that I don't really like. But like I'm sorry, like Fujin's hair should not have weird little lines on the crop job. Like if you're gonna crop art, make sure you crop it in a way that isn't noticeable. Honorable mention, Deadly Nightshade. I will fight the people that said this. We do not diss Derpy Ryoma Ito in this house. Derpy Ryoma Ito is like the best way to have Ryoma Ito.
I'm ready to put up hands. I am actually upset. No, you can't diss my tomato like this. He's so cute. He's great. Wow, people have no taste in this community. No wonder
especially
why
like,
lightnings are.
Especially if you see this in like foil or full art, like the background color is so good in person. All right, and then the actual other ones. In third place, we had a tie between the Theatrhythm cards and Leon. I guess that like Theatrhythm it's going to be always a little divisive, just because I remember when I first saw the game theater, and I was like, these look like the stupidest things on earth, but you kind of just get used to them and they become normal. But like, I could see that. Leon, I guess if you don't like derpy Amano, I could sort of see this being the poster child for that. You know, it's like, but like, come on, it's Amano. Amano stuff is so cool. And also, if you haven't seen it, this card looks great in foil. Like the red and the yellow in the top right, like really pops. In second place, a lot of people mentioned Celtius by name, but I rolled it in with anything that said screenshot, because let's face it, when people say screenshot, they're talking about Final Fantasy XI. And in first place, Steve D gets his wish with Sophia Sappho. I don't think this card looks that bad. I do think it looks a little bit kind of bland and overly smooth, which gives it kind of the uncanny valley look that people seem to be scared of, but I don't know. I just like Matsuda's art enough to not have too many issues with it. But like, I do get why people like it. Does look a little uncanny valley.
Yeah, I think Sophia is definitely the worst Matsuda art we've had in a while. It's just extremely awkward. Like, she looks like she's staring straight into my soul. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm glad this card doesn't see much play.
Oh, they made sure of that.
Yeah. Sappho support. Woo!
Yeah.
I'm also ready to throw hands with whoever said Theater Rhythm, because I love those cards. They're so cute.
Yeah.
I like, maybe it's just because like I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I love it when there's like really super serious, crazy, awesome, badass cards, and then next to it you got like the archetype of, you know, cake. Like, I don't know, like that, like the difference, the gap between like the cute cards and the serious cards, like it makes me happy.
The classic of overlaying Zeus on top of Mary Melfi's is like one of the best feelings in any card game.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, I don't get it. I also don't get Leon either. I think that card is just fine, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't have taste.
Yeah. I don't know. It actually, like, I was looking. There's not a lot of screenshot FF11 art this year. It's like Celtius, Omia, Tenzen, and then like some of the standard backups from last set, and like Corsair, the water backup from this set. Like, there are like 11 category 11 cards released in the entirety of 2024. So.
It's a little sad. I know some people love the art, so.
Yeah, like that's the weird thing about these is like, well, I think it's just people didn't play 11, because I know the people that like played 11 are like, oh no, like this is like, some of these are like the equivalent of like if they could just get like a screenshot of like Sephiroth being stabbed by Aerith, and like that's like the card for them. Like,
If Aerith is stabbing Sephiroth.
did I say that? However, yeah, Sephiroth stabbing Aerith. Like, but like that's like the equivalent for some people. Like, is what these cards are. It's just, it's a like PS2 game that they didn't have a lot of polygons to work with. So, favorite deck of the year. This one should be surprising. I've played a lot of Refia. I won a Materia Cup on it. I won Continentals on it. I really enjoy playing the deck as well. I know some people don't, but I like this like really comforting, slow, grindy gameplay. My only like thing I don't like about the deck is that like you will win the game, but then you still need to play 3 more turns to actually prove to the game that you won the game. Like, you're just like you can't lose, but you still like take 3 turns to kill them because the deck like does so little damage. But
It's a solid pick.
yeah. A lot of people mentioned a lot of different decks here. So honorable mentions is pretty large. Tataru's in the bottom left. I hope that's not cut off. So Scions. Mono Ice, Mono Fire. Lots of people mentioning all the mono decks. There's a couple of sickos that named Chaos. Mono Water was in 4th place. All these are, I think, pretty like expected. Mono Fire in particular has always had like it's people that like they're playing Mono Fire and nothing else. I think Scions is like a similar like archetype. That, like, if you're into Scions, like that's going to be your deck. You're not playing any other decks.
Yeah, the mono decks are, I think, some of the decks that are the most overrepresented for how good they are. Like, I'm not saying like Mono Water's a bad deck, but like I think Mono Water's play rate does not correlate at all with its power compared to other top decks. People just love playing decks like Mono Water and Mono Fire, and I don't blame them. There's something nice about just having every card in your deck, just pitch for every other card in your deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like to the game designers' credit, cards like Montleonis and Lena and Kate Sith have really done a good job of like trying to give you a reason to not just splash 2, 3, 4 colors in your deck. So like I'll give them a lot of credit because like when I first started playing like Opus 12, I never understood why anybody would want to play a mono deck. And now it's like I get it. Like they're designing in a way that makes it fun to play that way, which is good.
Yep.
So the picks that were sent in, again, a lot of variation on decks sent in here, so the actual percentage is not very high. In third place, Knights and Firewater, mostly good stuff. I think I tacked in Warriors on like one of the first, like I think the first 3 mentioned Warriors. I just left the moniker on there because I always think of that when I think of Firewater. Second place, Mono Earth. First place, Refia Control. A little surprised to not see any like Chaos Arc, given like how popular it was like at tourneys for so long. Maybe people were just frustrated or just didn't enjoy playing against it, which ended up like kind of lowering their standards for it a bit. Maybe that they just kept losing to Mike Powell and didn't want to rate it highly because of that.
Where's the monsters? Daniel.
Monster. Okay,
where's
so I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but like
where-
the problem with monsters in this poll specifically, they're going to be underrepresented because people would say water fire monsters, and then 3 people later, water lightning, mono water monsters, and it's like I don't want to like have this like monsters modifier off this like nebulous side because it's going to throw off all the numbers. So monsters are kind of a tricky thing to actually track on this. So
I think
monsters might be higher than they're mentioned here.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, I had to do some like, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
But
You should have worked the data harder. Yeah. No. These are all fun decks. I mean, well, mono. Wait, people actually enjoy playing Mono Earth? What's wrong with you people?
I can see that.
It's boring. That deck is so boring.
It's very stable. It does very well if you enjoy winning. Like it does well at that. I could kind of see like I think that people like it's boring in some ways, but I think it's also like under experimented with. I think cards like Terra could like you could do a lot because you could play anything. Like you could have a lot of fun with like doing random BS. I think in like Opus 24 you could run Kurosame like the new one and like instead of doing Tidus and stacking your opponent's backups, you play Kurosame and you just freeze everything they have on the field and you just turn skip them that way, right? Like, I think there's just so many different things you can do with it that like aren't done but could be. And I do think like Emmett Selk is a really cool card.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Emmett's really cool, but like personally, from when I was testing with the deck, I just found it to be extremely boring. Like every game felt like it played out the same way. But like if that's what you're into, like the consistency, then go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's consistent, it's powerful, and I do think it plays a very stable mid-range game, which is kind of just the default way people want to play the game, right? Refia generally leans more towards the control side. Knights leans more towards the aggro side. I would say that the Water Fire and the Mono Earth are kind of more in the mid-rangey. If you played mid-range, you probably played a lot of Mono Earth this year. Least favorite deck, I put Chaos. I just don't enjoy the play pattern of this. The moment your opponent does the Chaos thing, you start playing a mini game of, well, I need to not die. I don't even need to kill you. I just need to not die, and I win. I hope I hit a burst, which I think is just not engaging gameplay of, let's flip the top 5 cards of my deck and see if there's a Leviathan in there, and if there is, I win, and if not, well, I might still win because I might draw enough out of this or stabilize, but it's just frustrating. It also has a bit of one of my least favorite things in other card games, which is like my opponent just flares to steal the game from me, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's no window to like stop the flare. There's nothing that cancels the flare. You just die. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've talked a lot about Chaos today already, but, like, yeah, the deck's miserable to play against. There's no other way to describe it. Even if you have a good matchup into it, it's not fun to play against.
Yeah, no, you could just lose even if you could run 50 bursts and still lose to the deck. Honorable mentions: Mono Wind, no surprise. People have hated playing against this deck since the beginning of time. Mono Earth, A little bit more surprised because it's a relatively fair deck for what it does, but it is really strong, which probably causes some frustration. Um, and then third place, Knights with 12%. Uh, second place, Refugee Control with 18%. And first place, Chaos Combo with 43%.
Not surprised about any of these.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
I personally put Knights on the list, mainly because it was around for much longer, so I spent more time hating it. But, yeah, all of these, I mean, I like playing against Refia, but the other two, absolutely miserable experiences to play against. Just
I,
a lot of variance and just flipping cards.
I could see a lot of issues with playing against Refia as well, where, like, you need to damage the deck because you got to kill it because their late game is so much stronger than just about every deck. But because you're damaging it, they get like the damage 5 arc and the Ferris, and there's 25 bursts as well. So like when they're on damage 3, they've probably drawn 2 cards off of you hitting them for no reason, but other than the fact that like half of their deck is bursts and like it's definitely like I can see the frustration on that. And then like I said, Refia also ends up in a game state where like when Chaos and Corilla kill you, they kill you. Refia could sometimes get to the game state where like they have like 3 Warriors of Light, 5 Warrior of Light backups. You've got like 2 backups because you're not a ramp deck, and you can't put a forward on the field because it gets spun back to the deck. But you can't do anything else. Like you just die. Like, but it takes longer to do so. Like that's a really like annoying thing. But like it's just that's what happens when you play against a control deck sometimes.
There's also the issue with Refia though that like you can kill Refia every turn, and that deck has so many ways to revive her between Arc, between searching another copy with Ferris, between Lena, between Kusith, between Lev6, right? They have like what 5 cards plus her some other copies of herself, right? So they have like somewhere between like 15 and like 18 copies of Refia in their deck, more or less, once they get online, and they're just gonna chain her turn after turn after turn after turn, and there's like nothing you can really do about it other than like misdragon their break zone.
I've
And
played her
it can,
6 turns in a
that
row
being a little
before.
frustrating. Exactly, yeah. Like I've gotten to a situation where I just needed my opponent not to Refia like like it was like the fourth or fifth turn where that was the final nail in the coffin for me. It was like I was able to kill her turn after turn after turn after turn, and I just needed to get like one more point of damage in, and I just Sydney had the Refia like every turn. Uh, so yeah, I can get that. Also, the burst thing. Um, the weekend before I left for Worlds, we went to a game shop and I played with a bunch of my buddies, right? And I was playing against like I wanted to get some WoW format practice. So Sydney was there, right? Everyone knows Sydney, right? He topped like every single Materia Cup this year with Refia, and there was one of the games he hit literally 7 bursts.
Yep.
But so yeah, I can see how that's frustrating. But like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
mean, at the
navigate.
end of the day, it is like you have time against the deck, which is nice. You don't die
Yeah,
in 3 turns, so but
like at least when you lose to Refia, you got to play the game. Like that's my opinion. Like even if I lose to a deck, if I at least got to like put characters on board and like activate effects, I still had fun.
yeah. Strongest deck of the year. I also went with Refia. I think that like it won like half of the Materia Cups worldwide, if not more, over the course of the year. It won Worlds. Um, just did everything it could possibly do. Every time people thought the deck was worse or died, it just could like would like kind of like start off a little bit at the start of the format and then rise up as you know that got solved a little more or people understood how to handle what decks were doing. It didn't have any horrendous matchups. I know like its worst ones were supposed to be like Knights and Chaos, but like how bad can your aggro matchup be when you have 25 bursts in your deck? Like so um, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Some honorable mentions people had Knights. I think that like just the sheer longevity, this deck was good in the beginning of Opus 22, all the way was played at Worlds by a decent number of people as well. I don't remember if it top cut at Worlds, but like you know obviously still did very strong.
It was a
Um,
top cut.
yeah, and then Monsters. This was one that I did manage to actually have enough responses saying Monsters to get it into the honorable mentions. Um,
Exciting.
Third place, Mono Earth. Second place, Chaos Combo. First place, Refugee Control. I don't think any of these are surprising. Um,
Those were all solid decks.
yeah, they're solid. I mean, the joke at NA Nats that every copy of Leo that was printed in North America was at that event. Um, yeah,
Yeah, NA especially had a love for Mono Earth compared to other regions. I'm still surprised that Chaos Combo is that high, but people just really hate that deck. I guess.
yeah. I think it's the combination of that, like which makes people elevate in their mind as kind of this boogeyman powerhouse in a different way. But yeah, I think especially kind of given its relative youth, like I don't think this deck was even like really solved until KP and Chris Lopez's lists at NA Nationals. I did not really like this deck until that, like the innovations of stuff like Estinian and the way it kind of diversified the threat profile of the deck. I thought it was actually very until then. So we'll see if that continues.
I think their version was much better than the versions that we were practicing against going into the tournament.
Yeah. There were no bans in 2024. If you could have banned a card, would you do so? If so, what card? Again, no surprise. My least favorite card of the year is also a card that I think should just not be in the format. This would solve a lot of the chaos problems. And I don't think that like if a card needs to be banned, I don't even want to be like if its interaction with chaos is the problem. Why ban this over chaos? Well, Raijin was doing bullshit from the time he was printed. The Don Corneo stuff and everything else. This card just should not have been printed with the text he has. Like, there's just no other way to put it. This card has never done anything fair. It's never done anything healthy. Even the FF8 deck doesn't play this idiot anymore because they play the backup Raijin because they want to guarantee haste for the Cypher. Like, that should tell you, like, it wouldn't even hurt the deck he's intended to be supporting. He just was a mistake card. It's okay. Get rid of the mistake, and we'll be all good.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of him, as we mentioned earlier.
So the honorable mentions, Raijin got a couple of mentions. Refia got a fair few mentions as well. Pretty understandable. This card does everything. Third place was no bans with 10%. Some people are just really opposed to the idea of banning and like, oh, it's like a mistake. It like signifies that the developers think they made a mistake and they don't want to devalue their collections or something, or the format's fine, get good, whatever your mindset is. I don't really agree with that personally. Like, I think that, like, having decks like Chaos in the format is actively bad, especially for local scenes, because especially Chaos is this big, flashy, cool guy that people are going to want to play, and, like, Self-Mill is a really, like, popular archetype in other games. Just look at how long Tier Limit keeps getting played in Yu-Gi-Oh! And,
well, Tier Limit has some other things going for it. It's like Signature Lightning, if you know what I mean.
That's not why. But like you get what I'm saying though. Like it's
people love gambling, right? We love flipping.
Like Lightsworn is like one of the most like consistent long play decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. Same type of situation. And I think that it's a really unhealthy pattern that like will get people to stop going to locals if it like becomes too prominent. Chaos is in second place. Again, I don't think Chaos is the problem card in this situation. I understand that it's frustrating that like it's the name of the deck. Maybe we should just start calling it Raijin Turbo, and that'll get the people focused on the right card. That's what it actually is.
You're not wrong.
And in first place is Warrior of Light, which is honestly like a huge problem for Hobby Japan.
You know what the funny thing is here? 4 different cards were mentioned, and those 4 cards just represent 2 decks. Some people want Refia to be hit, and some people want Chaos to be hit. Obviously, Warrior of Light goes in other decks as well, and he causes issues with cards like Gilgamesh FFBE and whatnot, and Wall 7. So, like, it's not just the Refia deck, but I think that's interesting that all these bans are really centered on just those 2 decks.
I mean, to be fair, it also means people want to hit what they think are the 2 strongest decks as well. If you say the 2 strongest decks are Refia and Chaos, what do you want to hit? If you could ban a card, what would you do? Well, let's tap down those top decks a little bit and see if anything can rise up to compete again. People kind of doing the right thing for game balance in that regard, in my opinion.
I mean, I understand it. What I'm learning more and more as we go through this is that my opinions differ dramatically from the rest of the community. Like, the card that I put on this list, not even here. Not even in the honorable mentions.
What did you put?
Laswell.
Oh, you put Laswell?
I am a Laswell, certified Laswell hater. Screw that card. I hate it so much.
To be fair, people did mention Corilla got a couple of mentions. Like I said, Corilla again is the big flashy like first thing, and Knights was a total meme before she was printed. So I could see the logic there. I agree with you. Like if I was going to do anything to Knights, it would be to Laswell. Um,
Like, probably I modded more Laswells this year than Gorillas.
yeah,
Like, I don't mind them Korillaing. I mind the Laswell hitting the board.
it'll be really interesting. Like what'll end up happening because like Warrior of Light is the face card for the reprint set and their big chase for the reprint set, and it's like Warrior of Light is independently a problem of Refia due to what he is, almost more so than what he does, which is I don't know. Maybe it might have to go the Sophie route and get this restricted, but
I know a bunch of my friends were really upset when they saw that Warrior of Light was like the cover card for the reprint set because they're like, oh god, it's not getting banned.
yeah,
So
it's like one of those also problems. I mean, it's you don't want to like reprint it and then ban it either, because then you kind of run into like the Yu-Gi-Oh problem where they
I was
like
gonna say that's the Konami special.
we're gonna reprint Baron de Fleur, make it affordable, reprint Appaloosa, make it really affordable, and then like the next ban list after those reprints ban them. Like that's like really frustrating and shitty. You know, it's like, hey, now this card isn't $50. Here you go. Like, I don't know. It's a weird problem.
I mean, Oppo had a few reprints before they banned her, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the big one is like Baron de Fleur and like Burlode Savage got printed in like Rarity Collection 1 and then got immediately banned on the next ban list.
Yeah, no, I understand. Oh, freaking Hulk. Same deal with Hulk. It was like reprinted like a week before it got banned. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I can understand them not wanting to do that because it really leaves a sour taste in your mouth, especially because like people are going to spend money on those sets just to get that card right before it gets banned. It feels like really disingenuous, like you were playing the community.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if they limited it before release, but then like maybe you leave like game stores holding the bag if the set doesn't take off because it has issues, like it's just a rough situation. Almost makes you wish like the Yuna was more like the actual cover card. Like it's the other thing. Like there's two signatures. It's Warrior of Light and Opus 12 Yuna, which is a very weird decision. It's something to talk. Yeah,
I mean, Opus 12 Unit is like a fine card, but like it's not what I would have picked. I understand they probably wanted like a waifu to represent the set, but I think I don't know if it was me, I would have picked one that was slightly more competitively viable. But I can understand also not wanting the signature card to be competitively viable because it's supposed to be like a collector's piece and not like a game piece.
yeah.
So it's an awkward situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the actual solution like would have been, and it's like even like what Yuna is such a popular character as well. Like if they went with something like Glaciella, like disregarding the fact that Glaciella was the organized play promo, and like people will get mad if you devalue those, but like Glaciella is not an independently popular character in the same way Yuna is, regardless of how many people could have played War of the Visions. It just isn't. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Like I said, at most I could see them Sophieing it, where they put it to 1.
Which I think would be fine.
Yeah. So I had a series of questions saying, like, you know, do you agree or disagree with the statement? I think Final Fantasy TCG had a great year in 2024. 6 people really jaded, didn't like it. One person put a 2. And then generally pretty positive on it. I'd probably put it in about a 4. I think that 2024 was better than 2023 by a little bit. I do think that like there's some lingering issues both within like format stuff where it's like they really should be more aggressive at curating their game a little bit, like at least a little bit more aggressive at curating it, or like communicate like is chaos being played as intended. Like I think would be interesting, you know, like let us know, hey, we're keeping an eye on this, we understand it's a problem, but you know we don't want to do this until like just makes people feel a little better about like their time investment on playing the game that way. But the in a Continentals fiasco with like the last minute format change was such a self-inflicted error as well. Like I don't think so. I think 4 is pretty fair. I also think the sets, especially in the second half of the year, were pretty low power and didn't really shake the format up very much.
I think Opus 23 was pretty high power, right? We had Chaos, Witch, and Emmet, right? That's like 3 like really big impactful cards that were like going in 3 separate
But
decks.
like Mono Earth already had tops with it before that, thanks to like Ryan Chen playing like Mono Earth Chaos Arc. M itself just made it where it didn't have to play the Chaos Arc anymore for the deck to be good. I mean,
Which
like,
is a big improvement.
yeah, and like Witch obviously is a big bump to monster decks. Like Chaos is a big thing, but like there's a lot of cards in that set that really did not live up to the potential that they were looking to. Terra is the other one that I would say, and like Luna Freya, obviously, is an absurd card. Um,
I mean, I personally think it was a good year, but like in my opinion, we should be getting one ban list a year. Like that's like in my like I know people don't like bans, and I get it, but like we're in an eternal format. Cards are eventually going to need to get banned unless you want to just power creep everything to hell and back. And I don't want to go the Yu-Gi-Oh route where everything is absolutely crazy. So like having some bans to like keep things somewhat in check every once in a while, I think would be nice. Like I know that people don't want their decks banned out from underneath them. I get it, but like playing against, I've been playing this game for like 2 years now, and you like the decks that I'm playing against now are a lot of the same decks, like almost like card for card, the same decks I was playing against 2 years ago. Like so little has changed in a lot of these. Like I'm still playing against Wolf 4. I'm still playing against Mono Wind. I'm still playing against. I'm still playing the same deck as I was 2 years ago, more or less. It's like, and it's a little frustrating that I keep just. It's been a little stale. So just having a couple bans just to shake things up a little bit would be nice in my opinion.
or even just communication on it to know. Like, it's really annoying sometimes where it's like, okay, that's the last Materia Cup before Nationals. If they're going to do one, they got to do it now so we have time to adjust to the format. Okay, Nationals are all done. World's about to come up. Are they going to hit this Chaos deck because, it's been a really, a big thorn in our side, or like Hythlodaeus, there's a deck that basically intends to, on turn 1 or 2, 2 or 3, draw its entire deck and spit it onto the field. Is this what you want the card to be doing? Like, just something like that would be nice to know, right? Um, but like, I also get it. Like, communication sometimes does cause problems.
Like when we used to get slightly more frequent ban lists, they would often have like a watch list on there. And like even if we didn't get a ban list like this season, if we even just got a watch list, to just have Hobby Japan say, "But hey, by the way, there's some cards that we're a little concerned about." That would just go a really long way, in my opinion. Just to know that they're like hearing us and saying, "Yeah, we get it. We know you guys don't like these cards,
Yep.
and we're thinking about it at least."
Um, I'm excited for Final Fantasy TCG in 2025. Now, this is actually really cool because obviously it was a lot of people put 4 and 3 and overwhelmingly a 5 for people being excited, which is good. People are expecting good things from it next year, um, which is great. Like I being a niche card game, there's kind of always this fear, like, is this the last, last hurrah? Was this World's the last one that we're going to get? And people seem to be excited for the idea that, no, we're going strong in 2025, which is cool,
Yeah. I think the game is going into a great place right now, and I can only hope that we keep improving and getting awesome cards and having great events.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the people that put the 1s and 2s, I do understand it, especially if you started with like the older parts of the game. It's a very different game now than it was in Opus 1, Opus 2, Opus 3. So like if you don't gel with the direction the game has gone, totally understand it. I know LB was a big breaker for a lot of people. I personally like the LB mechanic and what it's done for like making sure there's always something going on in the game and always something to react to. But I also totally understand if you just like, nah, I don't want to deal with this mechanic. Like I get it.
I personally like the flipping part of LBs a lot.
Yeah.
Because like one of the core components to Final Fantasy compared to other card games is like in order to play anything, you need to give something up, right? Discarding cards for CP creates this core mechanic of playing things. Everything comes at a cost of losing a different card. Like there's always this opportunity cost, and like flipping over your LB cards is like paying CP cost for your LBs, and it feels very thematic to maybe not to Final Fantasy, but to the game itself.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really fits into just how like the fact that the LB deck like mirrors the main deck in that way, I think is really nice.
And there are no LB0 cards, and that actually might be the reason why, is there are no zero cost cards in the game period, so there's no zero cost LBs. I never actually thought of it that way. That's actually kind of a cool point.
I think that was really intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. I had if you had to sum up FFTCG in 2024, a single word, what is it? Just took all of them, did a little bit of creative liberty to kind of pick a word because people don't know what a single word means apparently, or not good at following instructions. But I just took those and kind of dumped them into a word cloud generator. Figured it'd be kind of just a fun thing to look at. I like that fun is like one of the few things that got like multiple people saying it, so it's like really big and then everything else is a lot smaller. But
Uh, I don't know what some of these words have to do with card games, but like, what is cowardly about this game? I don't know.
I think,
But
yeah.
I'm glad that people think it's fun.
I'm guessing cowardly is like a lack of like bans or like major pushes on some of the cards this year. I guess I don't know. I think it could be either one of those two directions. Either the devs are too cowardly to ban cards, or they're too cowardly to like push things or like market it more. I don't know. Um, I like that like chaos and flare are on there individually.
We have chaos, flare, and chaotic.
Yeah.
Some people were felt like they were being clever. But yeah, no, this is about what I would expect.
Yep.
Turbo abuse as well.
Someone's trying to cheat the word. If I don't put a space, it's only one word.
Uh-huh.
But no, this was a lot of fun. So, do you have anything else to add, Tori? I know you said it's kind of funny because a lot of these thoughts are not the same as your own.
Um, it's nice knowing that I'm a unique, special little bean. But no, this was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun filling out the survey. It was because like I don't necessarily go back and like really think about a lot of these things. So having that retrospective of what I thought about the year, um, was quite nice, and it was interesting going back and thinking, actually, what card do I hate the most right now? What did I hate the most over the course of the year? What was the funnest card? And like thinking about those things, I think is just as like the biggest word on the screen says right now. It's just fun, and yeah, this was also a lot of fun. Coming on here and talking with you and going over this stuff.
Yep. So yeah, stay tuned to the channel, y'all. Should be a lot more Final Fantasy content coming out. Also, I will probably be putting out another survey at some point in the near future. I want to make the Gamers Command guys play Family Feud with Final Fantasy. And I'm going to need 100 responses for that to actually work, otherwise Family Feud doesn't actually function. So if people could get excited for that, that'd be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of cool ideas for questions on that, and should be a great time, especially because the Gamers Command guys shouldn't fill it out if they're going to play. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one.